Stephanie, you have the unenviable task of trying to condense probably 2 or 3 days worth of conversation about what do DAM content users really need from their DAM, how to increase user adoption and improve the user's experience, drawing on the expertise of yourself and 2 other seasoned DAM veterans into just a little bit of this afternoon. I'm going to turn this over to you. We'll look forward to hearing a lot of insights, more conversations to come in the future. And thanks to all 3 of you on behalf of Henry Stewart for working to put this together.
Thank you, David. It's really exciting to be here. Good morning. And as David says, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Stephanie Taubin. I'm a senior client partner at ICP. And as somebody who has implemented a DAM in the past, I love this conversation so much because DAM brings so much value to so many different industries, right? And specifically within the healthcare and life science industry, that's been a little bit behind in implementing a DAM. I think it's really critical for all of us to have very candid and open conversations on what does value mean in utilizing a DAM and how to drive value with the DAM. And in collaboration with both Zach and Bernie, who are part of the conversation today, Zach being an end user and Bernie being a DAM owner, I think we're going to be able to have a really exciting and informative conversation about what does value mean, what do assets mean, and how they're each bringing value to their organization. One quick disclaimer before I turn it over to them to introduce themselves is that both of them are here today speaking on behalf of their expertise, and everything that they talk about comes from them being experts in the industry and not specifically speaking on behalf of their organizations. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach for you to first introduce yourself, and then Bernie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. So my name is Zach Wick. I am the senior editor at Arthrex. We are a medical device company specializing in orthopedic medicine. And I have been in the healthcare space for about 10 years now, and in the videography space for about 18 years.
Excellent.
Okay.
Bernie?
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for the nice introduction. My name is Bernie Phillips. I am the DAM manager / taxonomist for Aetna, and I have been working with the company for 5 years. I was introduced into the DAM space probably a year or 2 before that officially. My previous life was as a professional photographer, and once that switched over from film to digital, I guess I sort of became a digital archivist just by necessity. But then in the industry, when I went into the corporate side of things, I got introduced to DAM, went to my first DAM conference 5 years ago, and here I am now today.
Excellent. So as each of you kind of are utilizing the DAM or owning the DAM or driving the DAM for your organization in very different ways, Bernie, can you talk a little bit about why does Aetna have a DAM? What was the intent of them implementing a DAM, and what is it that they define as value using the DAM?
Sure. Yes, like I said, I was hired 5 years ago. They literally had just started their DAM journey right before I was brought on. And quite simply, the intent of the DAM was to offer final creative marketing materials to be offered up and available for reuse within the company. As simple as that is, that's basically saying we don't want to repay for, and it's my speculation how they thought of it, but it was basically that they don't want to repay to have either the internal or external agencies recreate very similar material year after year, especially in the insurance business. There's a lot of, cyclical, annual things that happen, and communications are often repeated in a similar fashion year after year. So that was really the main reason, was to get a return on investment, to cut costs, and for reuse and to offer the
Yeah.
assets for everyone to use again.
Yeah, which is very common, right? That's a common use of the dam,
Yes.
to actually have to be able to reuse and not redo, right?
Correct.
And Zach, how do you feel like as an end user, the dam is bringing, that you can help drive the value for your organization? And were you a part of actually standing up the dam?
No, so the dam was actually created about 3 years before I started at Arthrex. And it was still somewhat in its infancy. It's grown a lot since then, and we've been able to have a voice into what we want to see and what we want to be able to use it for. And our experience is kind of the same, being able to share marketing assets company-wide out to our sales force without having to completely reuse, multiple assets.
And how's your experience? Can you talk about your experience as an end user, being able to find what you need, to repurpose what you need? Like, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about efficiency, and our entire team is. And so being able to find all the assets that we need when we need them in a quick and easy manner. When we first, had our dam, we didn't have filters to be able to search through, and that kind of came later, and that was really kind of one of the big game changers for us. But even the ability to be able to create and share collections and things like that was extremely beneficial to help us share team wide and even company wide.
Yeah. And as somebody who specializes in the video space, I'm probably going to ask a question right now that'll, even myself, when I was implementing a dam, was like top of mind for me, right? Because regardless of the industry that you're in, everybody's doing video right today, right? Everything's moving to that digital space. So talk to me a little bit, or talk to everybody here about what do you need for video, and how do you store video on the dam? And especially when it comes to B-roll, right? I mean, to me, that's your true source file, right? I mean, the source file is, of course, the final video that's created, but when you've got all that B-roll, that's where you can start to really do the repurposing. So can you talk to all of us about that? I think that you're really going to bring some insights and knowledge sharing that I think a lot of people really would love to hear about.
Yeah, of course. So what we actually get out of it is we have full graphics teams, illustration teams, and we utilize a lot of those assets in our videos. And so being able to have those assets completed, put into the dam for us just to be able to access them instead of hounding down certain creatives and trying to figure out exactly what we need. That's a lot of the big part that we get out of it. As far as what we put into the dam, 4 or 5 years ago, before technology and cameras really kind of exploded, before you had 4K footage and things like that, the file sizes were relatively small. And we were able to house certain amounts of B-roll, certain files, things like that. But as the technology has gotten a lot better, file sizes have gotten a lot better. We've actually had to implement a media asset management system, or a MAM, on our team, and house all our footage on a different server. And so really right now we're utilizing the dam to upload final videos and not so much B-roll, but we're able to tie in our MAM to the dam to be able to give access to it that way.
And can you, because everybody here is really attending the conference to learn more about DAM and best practices for DAM, MAM is, right, kind of an extension to DAM. So can you just talk to us? And then Bernie, I've got a question for you, but I just want to really be able to educate and ground everybody in what the difference between the DAM and the MAM are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and kind of like I said, we treat the dam as a final asset resource. And then the MAM is more where we are able to house all our B-roll, all our interviews. We also house our final videos and assets internally inside of there. And the MAM really kind of gives us the ability to be able to share footage throughout people in the company that we need to without having to compress files, upload them. We can actually share raw footage across a web interface to give people instant access to it. And that's kind of the big difference between the MAM and the DAM, I think.
Okay, that's awesome. And so Bernie, like you and I have known each other for a while now, right?
Yep.
So as we hear from Zach about, the difference between the DAM and the MAM, do you want to share a little bit about your experience with, managing the types of files that go into a DAM, and how we really govern what those file types are and what needs to be saved, and being able to gather those requirements so that it's meeting both the business needs and the end user needs?
Yeah. So as far as governance goes, I feel that developing governance is something that has to happen in the beginning, or at least at the very early stages, so that a company has an understanding of what they have, where they want to put it, and how do they want to make it accessible. So in our instance, we do deal with video, if I could just to touch on that a little bit, but our DAM is not necessarily, it does not house any
Right.
B-roll footage, just final creative. And even that is still needs development. We think possibly integrating with a MAM or B-roll footage is something that's an enhancement for the future potentially. But that's part of the governance that we need that we're working on is where do we want to keep it? What do we want to make available to who? And how do we go about doing that? Governance is such a big word, as you know, Stephanie. It covers so much. It's so broad and so specific at the same time that it's hard to know where to really go first. But I like to think of it in the fact, like I first said, is having an understanding of what you want your DAM to do for your company, what do you want to have in it, and what do you want to have it present to people and offer to people.
Right. And the three of us, we had a few sessions to prep, and we kind of started to talk about governance. So, Bernie, you and I have talked about, how it's really critical to reach out to stakeholders and, who should be a part of that governance. And Zach, I'm gonna, look to you, like, as an end user, do you feel as though, you're internal within your organization, right? So do you participate in that governance as the end user? And I'd love to hear about, like, what is your governance structure for the two of you? What does it look like within your organizations? Zach, you're an end user. Bernie, you're the DAM owner. Who else participates in defining how the DAM should be utilized and what goes into the DAM? And what information and what learnings do you think you can each share with each other? Like, Bernie, when, as an end user, any insights or knowledge that you can share with Zach as to why certain decisions are being made? And Zach, maybe you can help guide as an end user why you need certain assets and accessibility to those assets.
I'll let you answer first, Bernie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
It's a lot. I know it's a big question, guys, but there's so much there to unpack, right?
Yeah. So just like I said, governance is so broad, but I also mean it is very specific at the same time. As a DAM manager or administrator, or whatever you want to call it, I look at governance on several levels. There's the broad overreaching governance. Like I said, what do we want our DAM to do? What do we want it to serve to people, and so on. Then as we progress in the journey of our DAM, there's more detailed governance. So if I wanted to use Zach as an example, governance over video, there's certain governance, there's certain things that the team, like Zach's team, would require of their assets to have them in the DAM excuse me, certain metadata, certain criteria of what they need to have to identify these assets for their end users. But that doesn't mean that whatever Zach wants is what the entire rest of the company needs. So there is governance in that level. There's specific governance for that area. There's then another department that would have other types of assets that would have possibly similar requirements as Zach, but also additional and different requirements. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in governance on several levels. Like I said, there's the broad overarching. A lot of that is the taxonomy that I was brought into the company to deal with initially. And that's developing an understanding, a common language that everybody can use. Zach's department might use language for their content that nobody else uses, but it might have to be part of the overall taxonomy. So that's what I mean by it's so overarching and large yet defined at the same time. Zach's team might have a value that they want to use as a term to identify something that is they call something XYZ, for example. Another department might have the exact same type of content and they call it ABC. They both have their specific uses, why one's XYZ, one's ABC. But that's where governance comes into play and say, okay, let's talk to each team and say, what is going to be the identifier that you can both use to identify the same type of thing? And then other information that would identify Zach specifically and the other teams specifically.
Yeah. And I think that's why these level of different governance councils are so important within organizations, right? So Zach, talk to us a little bit about your involvement in governance and how you help to drive that importance for your organization so that they can provide you what you need.
I think Bernie kind of hit the nail on the head with that, where it's the languages might be different, but you're actually talking about the same thing. So it is so important to get all the stakeholders into the room and say, you think that it's, or, you call it this, we call it that. What is the happy medium? And at first we weren't doing that and everything was kind of all over the place. And then once we realized that there was all this different information that was there, and pulled everybody in together, we were all able to communicate in an effective way to be able to bring everything back together and make it cohesive.
And how do you each continue to drive those governance conversations to make sure that that support is continued throughout your day-to-day so that you can continue to work efficiently and effectively? Like, is governance encouraged and supported in your organization, or is it something that kind of starts and it gets the engines running on all cylinders, but then as time goes on and the years go on, do you feel that it starts to kind of you start with like maybe this monthly, or I don't know what the cadence would be for your governance council meetings, but do you feel that that the ongoing support is there?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great relationship with the taxonomist, and it's they'll reach out to us for consultation before they make any changes, and then we'll kind of all meet together and agree on, is this the right way to go in the future? And you really do have to look at the long term instead of just a short term change because somebody says something of, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that, because you can't just think about what's good for one thing. You need to think about what's good for the entire organization.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes governance so critical, right? Is that it's not the voice of one, but the voice of many. And for you, Bernie, how do you continue to, you own the dam. How do you continue to support the organization as an owner? Or how do you feel an owner should continue to support that, not only their stakeholders, right? Internally, like marketing or your regulatory teams, but specifically your end users, because you have so many end users, right? There's so many agencies, and how do you continue to support them?
Well, a lot of it is goes back to the governance again, and also what Zach was just talking about is, I'm the taxonomist within the company, so we try to do me and my team, which Stephanie, there's not that many of us. We do try to stay in contact with the different teams to see what their needs are, whether that is having reviews over taxonomy, keywords, etc., and also reaching out to other teams that we know. We're such a large corporation that there's several parts of the company that aren't even involved in our DAM yet, but we know that we're there, that they're coming in, we're bringing them in, reaching out to them. That we have to understand what their needs are, as well as have them understand what the DAM can offer for them. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, no, it does. And when you think about scalability for the future, like where would you like to see your DAM go?
Oh, that's I wouldn't say a loaded question, but I see it. Our DAM has gone a long way, so far.
It really has.
And I feel like we still have a long way to go. That's one of the things that actually pulled me into this industry, was there's so much potential for how far-reaching a DAM can actually be, how important it can be within a company. I know I'm talking kind of high level here, but I look at it as what I've often seen described in a lot of these conferences and webinars and things is DAM kind of is at the center of everything. And it can lean one way or the other in the overall journey of content within a company, but it kind of is in the center because for a lot of reasons, I look at it as in some ways, there's a very cyclical cycle. I will look at Zach again as an example. You tell him as he's an end user. I look at someone like Zach as not only an end user, but also a beginning user at the same time. And I see that in a lot of areas, not just within my own company, but in other DAMs that I've worked for and other companies that I've worked for. And what I mean by that is, say, Zach, you're an end user, meaning you're providing final content for the DAM, right? I'm sorry, that would be a beginning user, right? You're providing final content that you've created to put into the DAM, right? But then you're also, as a beginning user, I'm sorry, did I say that right?
He's both. Yeah, I think he's both, right?
Yeah. A beginning user, as in you're providing, I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself. A beginning user as you're providing content to go into the DAM, but you're also an end user because you're going to the DAM to find other content to use to create new content going in. So that's kind of what I mean by it's cyclical and far-reaching. I think there's enormous potential for DAMs. I've seen examples of massively amazing DAMs that are functioning properly. I've seen examples of some that are small and functioning properly in both large and small companies. So I think there's enormous potential for it, and it's constantly changing, which is one of the things I love about it.
Yeah, and I think that's why Henry Stewart having really able to help drive this conversation around DAM is so critical for all kinds of sectors, right? Because everybody is at a very different stage within their DAM journey. There are those organizations that don't have a DAM yet, right? Because they're just not ready. They may be small. And then there are those that are really large, right? And they may have very robust DAMs, but again, just in different places of their journey with different intents and different values. Something else that just struck me when you were talking about the beginning user and the end user, Bernie, was when the three of us were speaking earlier in the week, we had talked about, how it's so different within the life science and healthcare sector, right? Because we live in a much more compliant industry. And you, as somebody who is an owner, has worked on CPG and in healthcare. So, I think it's, you're a really good person to kind of provide that insight and knowledge as to what the difference is between the two industries. Can you speak to all of us a little bit about how healthcare is very different than CPG? And I know, Zach, that, you had also shared some experience as well. So I'd love to hear from the both of you how you see healthcare being very different and life sciences being very different than media and entertainment or CPG, who also had their own days dedicated to this damn industry week.
Yeah, if you don't mind me going first, Zach. Like Stephanie said, I have worked in dams in the retail industry in the past. Coming to Aetna was something new. I was actually kind of a little hesitant in the beginning. I think it's quite different than what I'm used to, but there are large similarities, yet there are large differences. I think with what I would say my experience with the difference is that in healthcare, in insurance, et cetera, I feel like there's a much broader, I don't know what the right word is. I guess a broader expanse of requirements or differences in requirements from different areas within the company. I guess an example of that is, dealing with in my company, dealing with things for Medicaid, Medicare, which is very heavily government regulated, as well as just the insurance industry and the healthcare industry in general. There's a lot of regulations behind it, and there's different regulations for different departments, which mean there are severe, not severe, but specific requirements that different parts of the company need. Which then ties back into governance, like I said before. Yeah. The difference between the life sciences then in that respect compared to retail, in my experience, is that in the retail, I felt like there was like those different areas within the company, but the requirements that were needed for the dam, they all could kind of have the same, they could provide the same information or require similar information in retail that in the life sciences is not necessarily the case.
Right. You have different implications with how assets are actually consumed and reused, right?
Right.
Like there's regulatory and authorities around who have to participate and have a voice in the actual reuse of content, I think is what you're trying to say there. Correct?
Yeah, and also just
right?
information that is vital to the assets that could have serious legal implications or government regulations implications that I think retail doesn't have. Retail, yeah, there's some serious implications, but it's usually just the way a certain company wants to have their their brand represented. Doesn't necessarily mean that the government's going to become an after you if you do something wrong. Life sciences, yes, you could there's some serious consequences other than just money.
Yeah. And Zach, I think you're going to have a different point of view on this. So would love to hear your thoughts, right? Because you guys do answer to the FDA.
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of along the same lines to where it's, if you're a small production house or even, a massive movie studio, it's really, you're just kind of dealing with one type of asset. You're dealing with video and that's about it. And the only thing you really have to worry about is your security of your footage being leaked or like a feature film being, leaked or something like that. And on our end, we are FDA regulated. We heavily have to worry about HIPAA because we get massive amounts of content coming in from surgeons from around the world that are sometimes not HIPAA compliant, and we need to make sure that they are before they go into the dam and into our systems. And so we need to be extremely careful about that. And the dam also makes it easy in a way because you can turn things internal, external. You can hold things, make them private, and all of those is a factor that you don't really need in other types of industries.
Yeah. And Zach, do you also include like ISI or patient information in any of the videos that you're creating on behalf of your organization or your company?
Very rarely, unless we have written consent from the patient and the surgeon to be able to include it, and that's, you know, a patient outcome video or something like that. But for the most part, we err on the side of caution. Our compliance department is very strict about that, and so we make sure to be able to take everything out. And in our review processes too, we make sure the legal compliance, everybody reviews anything before it goes out.
Excellent. So if you were to provide Bernie with, you know, when considering video or considering an end user in the dam, what's the one piece of advice as an end user that you would say, you know, as you are on your roadmap and you know, you're starting to scale your dam even more, especially as CVS and Aetna is maybe not using video, but maybe it's video related, maybe it's just that as an end user, what's the one piece of advice that you could share with the dam community that's really critical when you are trying to gain assets or find assets? What would you like to share with the community?
I would say there's never such a thing as too much information. It's the, you know, I always say the more that you put into your system, the more that you're going to get out of it, the more ways that you're able to search for a specific asset, because we'll get all different types of requests from somebody. You might get a random name or a title, or you might get, you know, way more information, but having as much information as possible to be able to find what you need is probably my biggest thing that I need.
And now I'm going to ask another question, because Bernie, it's something I know that, you know, you and I have talked a lot about in the past, because, you know, we talk about what goes into a dam. Would you as an end user ever say that there's too much in the dam, or would you say that you could never have too much in the dam as far as assets go? And what, right, Bernie, we've talked about this a lot, right? Do we need to put this type of asset in the dam? So I would love to hear the two of you kind of have a conversation about this, because I think I have a funny feeling from Zach's point of view, he's going to have one answer. And I know that Bernie, that you know, that we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah. I could say, you know, from Zach's example, thinking about content, when you have, you know, quality final content, I do agree with you on one level. The most information we can have about that content, the better. I do think, though, communication is probably one of the biggest things to ensure that the information that you are actually attaching to a piece of content as metadata is relevant. I do think that there are some people that have a tendency to say, we need to have all this information and provide a huge list of stuff. And when we really look at it and go, okay, yes, that is important to your piece of content, but is it important to the organization as a whole? You might want to have certain specific details within your content for your department to help you and your department find your content. But that may be completely useless for the other 300,000 people that work in the company. Yeah. So there is that fine line to find out what is really important in a piece of content. I think for the most part, most people are not putting in, requesting to have metadata that really is just baseless and useless. And if there is stuff that people are trying to add in that is baseless and useless, we would go back to them and say exactly that. Say, I get this is important for you, but it really does nothing for the asset at all. It does nothing. One example of that is we had some designers in the past that would save file names with the designer's initials in it. And they said that has to be there. I said, okay, that's great when you used to deal with your files on a server. Now that we're in a DAM, that's not necessary, because it doesn't, nobody cares that your initials, you know, ADR for whatever your name is, nobody's going to look for that. The only people that know that is going to be that one person looking for it, who would be that designer. So that's what I mean by useless information.
Right.
But for the most part, identifying information, the most you can have, the better. I agree.
And I think it comes down to education of the end users in the organization too.
Absolutely.
Sharing that same vocabulary and that same language, and knowing this is what you need to provide for me to be able to find what I need. That's one of the biggest issues that we run into, is so many different ways to be able to request something, where if there was just a little bit of that education there and everybody was speaking the same language, then we wouldn't need as much as we need.
Right. And that's where I think, like I said, sorry to cut you off, Stephanie, just briefly, just communication. And part of that communication is education, just getting people to understand why the dam is being operated the way it is, why we want to have certain information in certain ways, like taxonomy, et cetera. We had an example just this week where some group wanted to give us certain files so that they could put them on a board and share it with others. And they were literally terrible low-res versions of other files. And we had to explain to them, this doesn't belong on the dam. You can share it other ways. So.
Which I think is, this is all awesome. And I know we're 1 minute, not even a minute left in time. So, I definitely want to thank you both. I personally could sit here and talk about this all day, but it sounds like we're moving moving from value of dam and governance. And now we're moving into the change management, which is a totally different conversation. So I just want to thank you both for your time. I think this has just been really amazing. So thank you both, and we'll all talk soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, and David, back to you.
Thanks. And Bernie, I think we should take your idea from those wonderful designers about their initials, and we'll put Zach and Bernie and Stephanie's initials on things that are important to us to learn about DAM. I wish there was a way to annotate how much knowledge gets transmitted from sessions like this, and from your experience and the opportunity from days like today, on which Henry Stewart brings to our community, and it is our community, what it means to continually, to pick up the last thing you said, Bernie, to continually educate. Yes. And as we know, if we have the chance to gather around a table, whether it's in New York City in September, whether it's virtually again in the coming months, or a year from now, and we look back, there'll be new things. And it's one of the things that's so stimulating about this field, and why your professional contributions, those of you and everyone who's spoken today, are so critical to affirming which of these new things are really helping us, and which are pet rock moments and small little trolls that we end up not really having to have into the dam. And I know how challenging that is. I also think it's fascinating that we work with something that has this degree of kinetic energy and kinetic exploration to it, and see how it translates value for our organizations, wherever they might be. So Stephanie and Bernie and Zach, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you, David.
So I'd like to thank in general everyone for attending DAM for Healthcare as part of our DAM Industry Week 2023. Just a reminder that the session recordings from today's events are now accessible on the agenda tab. We're appreciative of your time and of those of our speakers and of our sponsors for a great event. We look forward to seeing you all again soon, whether that's in 2D or 3D. Lots of good DAM adventures and opportunities to learn from each other and from our community together await in the future. On behalf of Henry Stewart, this concludes the 2023 DAM Industry Week. Thank you for being here.